This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC. I'm here with Kevin Wathey. We're going to talk baseline to coastline, biotech versus the coastline of Costa Rica. Both projects at the same time. Try and be an entrepreneur, 2X. Welcome to the show.
Pete, I appreciate you having me.
And I really appreciate you shaving and getting a nice little haircut for us as well. It's very, very professional in your Halo ways. So give us a little background on how you became a crazy entrepreneur, what gave you the confidence and enthusiasm to start these projects, and let's start with Costa Rica if we can.
Yeah, well, I'll give a little bit of backstory on myself that I think will help paint the picture of how we got to where I am today. When I was 16 years old, my mom set out to inspire my younger sister and I, and decided to run the Tempe Town Lake Triathlon just outside ASU in Tempe, Arizona. She was 46, trained for, completed her first triathlon, and crossed the finish line complaining of low back pain. Thought she hurt herself in the race, got an MRI, found out she had stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and was given 3 months to live. So went from being the healthiest she had ever been to giving a death certificate, essentially. And she sat my younger sister and I down and said she was going to outlive the prognosis by a year and spend one more Christmas with us. And she passed away December 26th, 2010. And if that showed me anything, it's that by example, she showed me by example that she was able to pick the date of her last breath. And if that's possible, then whatever we focus on is what we're able to accomplish as well. And as I've moved forward through my life, I've recognized that the only limitation is your own imagination. And so I've made sure that I only select projects that are a bit absurd, but only because we're only limited by what we place our own limits upon. Yeah. So
I'm sorry to hear about that. At the same time, it sounds like she's been an inspiration to probably just more than you and your sister.
I've never heard someone, and I'm sure I'm biased, but I've never heard someone speak negative about her, which is a feat in this day and age. Sure. So after she passed, I went and played 2 years on the East Coast hockey, semi-professionally. Hockey led me to acting. My dad gave me the ultimatum. He says, you get a degree or I never help you with anything in life. It's very conservative New Yorker.
What town are you from again?
Syosset.
Okay, yeah, I'm from Westbury. I was a big roller hockey player back in the day. I didn't play ice hockey.
That's where I
did
started.
Go to a Ranger game last night, actually, versus the Kraken. And so Adam Fox, who grew up in Jericho, who's now playing defense for the Rangers at 5'11" and 180. So I would say whatever you set your mind to, you can do, regardless of your stature.
I agree. Yeah. And so he gave me the ultimatum. I said I would get a degree in theater, of all things, because I was acting at the time. Did my undergrad at ASU in 3 years. My second year, I got asked to go perform a show that my buddy had written in Bali. And I started taking yoga while I was there. And about 3 weeks into it, I came out of a yoga class and the sky was a different shade of blue. The trees were greener. I could smell differently. I made eye contact with my vocal production coach and I saw my mom in her and I broke. And That was 5 years after she had passed. It was the first time I ever allowed myself to grieve her passing. And I was very well received in that community. And I came back to the States and I said, where do I meet more people like that? So I enrolled in a yoga teacher training, really to learn more about myself. That was the only piece as well. And then I graduated there and my bachelor's at the same time and took a summer internship at Hyatt Hotels. I was a pool boy and it was a great summer.
Where were you stationed?
This was in Scottsdale. So I was at the Hyatt Regency Gainey Ranch and I was there for a summer. I crushed it. They invited me to come on full time. 2 years into that, they invited me on the brand development team and I helped open properties. So everything from the ground up. Nice. So the last property I opened, I was 24, was Andaz Scottsdale in Scottsdale, Arizona, a couple miles away from Gainey Ranch. And I don't know what led me to ask, but I was getting really involved in yoga and meditation and wellness. And I said that I'll build the food and beverage program for you, but I also want to build a yoga and fitness amenity and run it as my own studio. So at 24, I ended up building a yoga and fitness facility at a 5-star resort in Scottsdale, Arizona. I ran that as my own studio for over a year. And at the end of the year, the director of ops came to me, said, "Hey, we see how much money you're making. We want 50%. And I was like, not how this normally works. So I put together a proposal of how we could branch wellness to Hyatt worldwide with an external guest program and internal employee program. Presented it to the CEO, CFO, VP of the Americas. And in 2016, they said it would never be big enough to warrant a corporate partnership. Put in my 2 weeks and started a consultancy. Gotcha. Funny thing is, 9 months later, they partnered with Headspace and brought part of what I was trying to do in internal.
Yeah, between Headspace, they also used to own Exhale Spa for a period of time. Mm-hmm. And it never seemed to pull all the pieces together that they had under their influence to really pull it off the way I was hoping the hospitality industry would. So as of now, you've proven that you've got the requisite skill set to launch what you're launching now. So talk to us about the benefit of building a ground up resort versus maybe going and buying one or partnering with one. What was the rationale there?
So the acquisition of Costa Rica was a pre-existing boutique hotel. So it was 24 rooms, 2 restaurants and a spa, 5 acres of beachfront on the Pacific coast in the Nicoya Blue Zone. And the intention was never to keep it as is, but to expand it. And right before we closed on it, the previous owner came to me and said, "Hey, we have 2 extra plots of land adjacent. Would you like those as well? They're already pre-permitted for condos and residencies." So it went from a smaller boutique resort acquisition to over 17 and a half acres of beachfront and beachfront adjacent property. And when all is said and done, that'll be 52 rooms, 32 residencies, and 54 condos.
Gotcha. And do you feel as if you're who's the clientele to bring to that resort? Are you selling any kind of like co-ops where you buy a unit and then it gets rented out?
Yeah, so we're in talks with a company right now to pre-purchase the majority of the condos and residencies. Yeah. The resort will stay within our own opco and be focused on entrepreneurs, C-suite, high-performing individuals that really want the complete picture of their health. Because the way the resort is structured is that you will actually do pre-stay testing. So you'll do a full exome sequence, you'll do a blood, microbiome, and metabolic panel, and all of your treatments, activities, excursions, everything on property is customized to your unique biology.
And then from a standpoint of where you're going to be living, are you going to be living at that resort upon opening for several years, or what's your plan?
I'll be down there to help with the opening, but my intention is once we break ground to go to Italy and start looking for location number 2, and South Africa being number 3.
And why those choices of locations?
Costa Rica initially because it was my favorite place on the planet. I have 2 tattoos. One is "I Hope You Dance" in my mom's handwriting, and the second, which was her favorite song, and the second is "Pura Vida," because the first time I went down there, it had a lasting impact on me. It's about a way of life, and they take a very similar approach to living in how I think of healthcare, how I think of life, how I think of well-being, and that's a game of subtraction, not addition. It's not what can we inject or ingest in order to become healthy. It's what can we remove in order to get back to a place of vitality, which is where our bodies are uniquely created to begin.
This is a destination, or this is like a Costa Rican mindset?
It's a Costa Rican mindset, particularly in the Blue Zone, which is the Nicoya Peninsula. 5 blue zones in the world where the life expectancy is the longest. So that was the reason for Costa Rica. I'm Italian, so that's the reason for number 2. I'm getting my citizenship right now. And I went on I consulted for a safari retreat company years ago and had an incredible experience. Happy to dive into it more on Africa and of South Africa particularly. And I think there's more people who need to experience that.
Gotcha. And then from the unit economics on something like this, it's not necessarily akin to hey, I'm going on a 1 week or a 2 week vacation, you're really kind of, coupling that with, hey, I'm going to like the Mayo Clinic for a period of time. And what would be the best analogy to say I'm going to what 2 or 3 things? It's like a positive mashup, if you will, for lack of a better musical
The,
term.
the closest comparable to someone that's doing something similar is a place in Switzerland called Clinique La Prairie. They do a 5-day detox retreat for 55 grand. And we're positioned slightly differently in that we don't starve you for 55 grand, but
Right.
it's
What
it's
is
a
the price
similar
point?
25 to 30,000 a week.
Wow. Okay. So that's pretty high margin, but at the same time, you also got the staff and the actual technology there to serve that, to
Correct.
warrant that amount.
Correct. There's a suite of medical benefits as well as practitioners on site. A lot of that ties into Baseline, which is the health tech platform we're building right now too.
Gotcha. All right. So pivot to Baseline, and Baseline is going to effectively be the CRM that powers the location in Costa Rica, and then becomes like your internal software, ERP. And then you're also going to have other people allowed to use it, or is it going to be captive?
No, it's going to be a standalone entity. Other people can use it as well, and it's not specifically only for resorts. So the way that
Yeah.
we got to building was that the problem I wanted to solve was how do we quantify a resort stay? Normally, you go somewhere, you feel great, you go back home, and you do the same behavior that led to you needing to go on vacation in the first place. So I said, if we do pre-stay testing, that then would allow us to create a baseline that allows you to not only see what happens at a moment in time, but track trend lines over your lifetime. And so Baseline, it's a platform built by your biology for your biology, and it's meant to score how well you live your life, focus specifically on behavioral and lifestyle intervention. And if we look at, I know we were in Vegas at the same time, if you look at healthcare today, 95% of spending's on chronic disease.
Yeah, sure.
1960, that was zero. 1960, the first ever prescription for a chronic condition was released, which was
Wow.
oral contraceptive. And it's a straight up and to the right since then. Today, McKinsey came out with a study that 80% of chronic conditions can be completely treated with lifestyle and behavior change.
Well,
But
that's where we're at.
yeah, no one
We-
the pharma doesn't benefit from that though.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and they spend a lot of money coming up with crazy names for a lot of pills that have significant amount of side effects.
Yeah,
Where I'd
they're
rather just have
lobbying
the
right
disease.
now, to have Ozempic be adopted by children as young as 6. What 6-year-old needs a weight loss management injection that maybe we should look at what we're putting in the body, not
Yeah.
injecting into it.
Well, one that has 500 calories per serving in their kitchen closet would be the ones that would need the 6-year-old Ozempic pills right
Yeah.
next to it. Or you can walk in and out of like the snack area and get like a shot of Ozempic, like a Amazon, shopping cart or something. You put your credit card in, and you
Yeah.
go buy stuff, and it charges you directly. You give spray them with like Ozempic on the way out.
Hey, if we weren't trying to make the world healthier, I think you might have a business model there too.
Yeah, I mean, there's been crazier business models. I probably got to develop it a little more. I just came up with that. I was thinking one of those Arizona, like sprays that they have outdoors, where you can sit outside
Yeah,
at a
misters.
restaurant or something. You can just be spraying Ozempic on the fat kids. See what happens. All right, probably not the best idea. And I'm sorry about using the word fat. I meant overweight or lack of behavioral eating disorders. Put it that way.
Yeah.
So as you kind of like flow through as an entrepreneur at your age, and say, hey, I'm going to try and accomplish these things, that running 2 companies at the same time is not, the desired path. Obviously, you want to try and do one at a time. So what's the rationale? Do you think you're going to miss something if you do one or the other, or they need each other in order to coexist?
I think they're complementary. They're under the same umbrella. They hold the same amount of space in my head. And I don't see them as competitive, and I see them as actually helping each other get across the line.
Gotcha. And then as you look at two companies like this, for our entrepreneurs out there that are thinking about business models, if you own the Costa Rica, let's put Italy and South Africa on the side. I own Costa Rica, and I own a software company that is going to power this Costa Rican entity. How do you think about transfer pricing? How do you think about raising money? For obviously, there are two separate investors in my mind that would want to invest in a med spa hotel destination, best of class, first of its kind. And hey, I'm running a software company, so the first question I would ask is, if I'm investing in both of these, what are you going to charge the software company? Because I might not be on both sides of this investment.
Yeah. The Costa Rican, the commercial real estate piece is a very kind of PE, maybe family office conversation. On the SaaS side, the health tech side, that's definitely a venture conversation or an angel conversation. There's some families that may have appetite for both, and we've talked to quite a few. We're almost fully subscribed for Costa Rica, and then that will be great because then I won't be raising for two projects at the same time, which will help me mentally.
Yeah.
But the way that it's going to work is there will be a services agreement with Baseline going to Azul, the property in Costa Rica.
So how does somebody like you, how do you define success? I mean, you could define it on a daily basis. It sounds like you've had some life events that you've had, real, takeaways from, and it's changed the way you've thought. That's success in and of itself, right? To have self-awareness and understand your own mission and your pursuit and validation and conviction over what you're doing. At the same time, you got a software company that's got to get to break even. You got a location that's going to be catering to, not everyone's got 25K to throw at at themselves, to actually help themselves. So how do you define success, and how do you know how long it's going to take to get there and be comfortable with that? Because this isn't going to be break even on day one on both of them.
Yeah. My personal definition of success is always striving without sacrificing the present. And I think that is something that is often overlooked in society, is that it's a monetary place or it's a place to get to. And I've realized that life is, lost my mom at 17, best friend at 19. And if I've learned anything from that, it's that life is too short to be happy when, to be successful when or if. And I've redefined a lot of those things in my life. But in terms of like a monetary standpoint, we're already pre-selling the residencies and the condos on property. That's going to basically return the investor the equity raise back 136% once we have a grand opening in January 27. And then there's a 50-50 split on the upside for anyone on common within Azul. For the Baseline platform, I see that as the next 10 to 15 years of my life. Ideally only raising for it once and making the economics make sense to where it is a very profitable company without having to need to raise again. The thing I will say too is that yes, a 25K price point is not accessible to everyone, and I completely understand that. The way to think of it is we have a freemium, premium, and executive tier within Baseline. Freemium's free. Premium is going to be a monthly or annual charge. The executive tier is the 25K or 30K a year, where you get the white glove experience, where you get the concierge, where you get the 5-star 7-day stay. The other two are accessible. You can get your exome sequence and your labs done every single year for under, you only have to do exome once, but you can get your labs done every single year for almost under $1,000.
All right, in closing here, we'll have all your info up on the show notes here about the location and both of the cap raises. But you got a quote that you live by? I'm sure you have many, but anything that you got to take away that we can put in our quote library here at the Halo headquarters?
I've got many, but one that I really enjoy that's been on my mind presently is a system theorist, R. Buckminster Fuller, and he says that you can never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, you need to build a new model that makes the old one obsolete.
Nice. All right. You've heard it here first. Kevin, we are going Baseline to Coastline. Welcome to Halo Talks. Let us know how we can be helpful. Got a lot of health clubs and med spas that are clients and long-term relationships. So we should probably start to plan once Costa Rica is up and running for people to sign up through their affiliates to come down there and basically have that as like a club promoted, destination week, as a team or as a small community. So congrats on what you're doing. We love the ambition and we want to be helpful. So glad we got connected.
Appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
All right, man. Great work. Love it.